Remember when heavy metal ruled our lives? When great albums and great concerts came out every month?
Yeah, the 80s.
Well, it's time to look back at those days, so take out your old vinyl
And cassettes.
put on your denim jacket.
And raise your fist in the air.
It's time for the 80s Metal Hang, a classic heavy metal podcast.
Oh, yeah.
On this week's episode, we go back to February 1983 as Quiet Riot checks on our mental health, Aerosmith gets stuck in a hard place, Van Halen dives down to South America, and Iron Maiden and Dio begin recording heavy metal classics. All this plus rock goddess Sammy Hagar and Metallica on the 80s Metal Hang, a classic heavy metal podcast.
Yeah, this should be a really fun one, especially the Quiet Riot stuff.
Yes.
Brings back a lot of memories, and it's a pretty big album.
Yes, it is. And this is our second episode where we're going month by month through heavy metal history. As we mentioned, we're up to February 1983. And last week was January of 1983. Did you listen to the first episode?
I did. It sounded better than I thought, because we're really new to this. So, of course, we're very self-critical.
Yeah,
and we're
so-
like, oh, that wasn't good. But it was
We
okay.
thought about going back and fixing like every little mistake. Every once in a while we said a song title wrong, or just a little flub here or there. But
It's going to happen.
it's going to happen.
This is all about being a hang.
Yeah.
Who's hanging. It's not this crazy college course of metal.
Yeah, we don't have the encyclopedia of metal to read through A to Z, so we kind of our memories mixed with a little bit of research, and that's what we hope.
Yeah.
These episodes will all be.
And speaking of A to Z, today we're going to start a Q
A Q.
for Quiet Riot.
Quiet Riot. And what was their famous album called?
Metal Health.
Metal Health. Metal Health will drive you mad.
Yes.
So this album has a lot of history before it and created a lot of history that came after its release. So Quiet Riot Metal Health, to most of us, that was the first Quiet Riot album.
That's what I thought too as a youngling. That was my first introduction to Quiet Riot. I loved it. It was something, even though metal was around, this kind of pushed it into the mainstream, so to say.
Yeah.
And
So what we thought was their first album coming out in February of 83 was technically their third album.
yeah, they had the cleverly named titles Quiet Riot 1 and Quiet Riot 2 that were released in 78, only in Japan, if I remember correctly. And what I also didn't know at the time was it was formed by Randy Rhoads.
Yeah, so I think it has to be how we first heard of Quiet Riot. I would assume that when Randy was alive and in Ozzy's band, they probably mentioned his history, that he was in an LA band, Quiet Riot. So we probably, I don't know this for sure, but maybe we knew the name before the album even came out.
I don't know.
Because I don't,
Maybe.
yeah, I don't think I bought it or saw it and said, oh, this is Randy Rhoads' band that had 2 albums in Japan. I think I bought it more because of the cover. I think this is one of the few albums where I actually bought it because I saw the cover.
It was, yeah. Well, that's understandable. It's a really kind of a cool cover. And it features someone, maybe Kevin Dubrow or Dubrow, I don't know,
Dubrow.
in a straitjacket wearing this crazy iron mask. And he's in, looks like a padded room.
Yeah, so at a time where you had these cool like painted covers, Iron Maiden, obviously, Judas Priest. Maybe I just saw this guy in a straitjacket with the mask, and I said, this looks metal. That's what we used to say. This looks metal, and I don't even know what that means exactly, but something looks metal. We were like, we're buying it.
Yeah, and it was, I liked it. So I'm glad we got it. Sometimes you took a chance. You went to the record store. You were a kid, so you had $10, so you had to kind of hedge your bets a little bit.
Yeah.
But this one paid off.
Yes, it did. And I think I got it pretty early. The first single was Metal Health. It wasn't really until Come On Feel the Noise came out and then the video that the album really, really took off. But the long history before it is the singer Kevin Dubrow and Randy Rhoads had a band called Quiet Riot. Like Craig said, in 1978, they came out with some albums in Japan. But then the things didn't go well. The albums didn't set the world on fire, which probably led to Randy trying out and joining Ozzy's band. Because these records didn't really, have you listened to the records? The QR 1 and 2?
I haven't really listened to them, and it's not for not being able to find them anymore because you can find them anywhere. They're just I don't know, not that. I don't want to say not that good, but they're not.
Not that metal.
They're not. They're not Metal Health.
Yeah, they're not Metal Health, and they're definitely not. Randy doesn't shine as much as he does in Ozzy's band, but I think Kevin Dubrow. We saying Dubrow.
We're gonna fluctuate.
Kevin Dubrow. He went on to have other bands. He had a band that was named his last name that we can't pronounce, Dubrow, and that's where he started with Carlos Cavazo, who ended up becoming the guitar player once they renamed themselves back to Quiet Riot, and had this established band that had Carlos Cavazo on guitar, Frankie Banali on drums, and Chuck Wright on bass. And that's the band that started recording Metal Health. But something happened along the way with the bass player.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure I remember about Chuck Wright as much.
I don't think I knew who he was. He was their bass player when they started recording Metal Health, and then as the story goes, they invited Quiet Riot's bass player from the Randy days back. Well, actually, I don't know when he was from, but Rudy Sarzo. They invited Rudy Sarzo to the recording because they were doing a tribute song to Randy called Thunderbird, which is on Quiet Riot's Metal Health.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, Rudy being in the studio, I guess, something happened. And Rudy Sarzo became the bass player for Quiet Riot again.
That's what he does. He just worms himself in, and everyone uses Rudy.
Rudy will come up a lot because he's in a lot of bands.
Yeah.
And so he became the bass player. So if you look at the back cover, you see the lineup, the Metal Health lineup that everyone knows. Dubrow, Carlos Cavazo, Frankie Banali on drums, Rudy Sarzo on bass. And the album and the tour and everything about Quiet Riot just took off.
Yeah, it was really catchy, some of those songs. I particularly like Come On Feel the Noise. Obviously, it's Slade, which I had never heard of Slade at that age either. Now I know that. It's why so many bands cover that band.
Yeah, that they were from the 70s era of like that British pop rock, like T-Rex kind of music scene, and they had a song called "Come On Feel the Noise," and Quiet Riot covered it. They supposedly reluctantly covered it, but I don't know, because those first two albums in Japan, QR 1 and 2, both had cover songs on them by the Small Faces, which was a band that eventually had Rod Stewart in it and Ron Wood. So I don't know if they were as reluctant to record covers as they led on, but I guess when your biggest song ends up being a song you didn't write, maybe you get a little defensive about it. And
especially in a band where most of your hits are you didn't write. Not most, but I mean.
Yeah, they hated doing that cover so much that they did another Slade song on the next album, Mama We're All Crazy Now.
But they did write Slick Black Cadillac, and that I think that might be my favorite on that first record.
Yeah, that's a good song. I always liked Run for Cover, Let's Go Crazy, this song Breathless. So there's definitely some other good songs on there. It's not just one of those albums that has like 2 songs and the rest are all garbage.
No, it's definitely good. And there was Battle Axe, which was a guitar solo by Carlos Cavazo, which was pretty cool. I loved his tone. I loved the solo. Although when I was young, I thought it was reminiscent of Randy's solo that he would play live with Ozzy. So I kind of was a little like, he's copying.
Oh, that's funny.
It may or may not be true. I haven't listened to them back to back, but
we should get Battle Axe from Metal Health and listen to Randy's solo on like the tribute live album and see if there's any similarities there. That was a time like, your guitar player was, it was 1 and 1A. It was David Lee Roth and Eddie Van Halen. It was your singer and your guitar player. So, a lot of albums, they had like these guitar solos where I think everyone was trying to do their own version of Eruption.
Yeah, it was nice because eventually it became who could play faster, who could do the hardest stuff, which is, that gets old kind of. But this was more melodic. It's like same thing with Eruption. Even Eddie says that's definitely not his hardest solo, but it just sounds amazing.
Yeah.
Sing Battle Axe, it sounds great.
So Metal Health lovers out there, or anyone curious about Metal Health, check out those songs. Check out that guitar solo. The album Metal Health ended up making history. We just told you all about the history behind it, but it actually goes on to sell millions and millions of copies and become the first quote-unquote heavy metal album to ever reach #1. So it becomes #1 on the Billboard charts in a year that was dominated by Michael Jackson and Police's Synchronicity and Lionel Richie. In November of '83, they finally hit #1, and now it's cited as the first heavy metal album to ever reach #1 on the Billboard charts. They went on tour, opening for ZZ Top and Sammy Hagar and Black Sabbath, and even opened up for Iron Maiden at Madison Square Garden, where they got their platinum albums.
Wow. And I think they actually were in the Rolling Stone 50 greatest hair metal bands.
Oh, yeah.
Take that for what you will, but
all those Rolling Stone lists.
Yeah.
And then we actually saw Quiet Riot live when we were kids.
Oh, boy. Yeah, sometimes I wonder if it really happened, because we remember it, but I don't know if anyone else does. It's weird.
It was actually, I tried to do research, and it's like a lot of sites don't list that the show happened, but they were definitely in the Northeast area, but maybe it was like a fill-in show. Like, I don't know, because we went to see, Craig and I, with a bunch of our middle school friends, went to see Quiet Riot at a college near our house, in the gym.
Stony Brook
University gym, and it was a gym. I mean, there was like a basketball court on the floor. There were bleachers on the sides. They rolled the basketball nets up, and there was Quiet Riot, a headlining show.
You can imagine the sound quality.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And it was the winter. It was December, and we made the great decision of leaving our coats in my parents' car, and we stood outside. They made us stand outside in the cold for about 2 hours.
Yeah, that was ridiculous.
And Quiet Riot played a short set, and the crowd kind of booed because they only played like 10 songs. And that ruined plans, I think, that we had.
We had these grand plans of making history. We were waiting for them to play Metal Health, and we were sure it'd be their encore. So we were at the top of the bleachers, and we were ready to fake bang our heads against the wall, like that was going to mean something.
And what do we think would happen? Do we think the band would see us recreating their video, banging our heads against cement walls, and say, "Those 5 guys from Long Island, those 5 13-year-olds, they're awesome. Let's take them on tour with us.
We're going to be in Circus Magazine."
As Quiet Riot's best fans.
But at that age, that was pretty damn cool.
And to make matters worse, or actually to make this story even better, is 3 or 4 of the friends we were with, you included, were wearing various forms of spikes, like belts, like bullet belts and bracelets with spikes on them. And they got taken away by the security.
Yeah, he took all my spikes away. I was kind of like upset. They were cool.
And then at the end of the night, a bunch of you had to go to the college security office to get your spikes back. And while they were gone, myself and another friend of ours were standing by the gym, and the opening band walked out.
Armored Saint.
We got to talk to them. We met Armored Saint. This is a time of no camera phones. We didn't have paper or pens or anything, but we just talked to Armored Saint. They were really nice to us. I remember one of them was carrying a boombox, where I think he actually recorded their set on a boombox. And off they went. And I actually loved Armored Saint from that night. And I think I bought their album like within weeks.
They were a great band.
March of the Saint.
I think they should have gotten bigger than they actually did.
Yeah, and they're still around. As a lot of the bands we mention are in some iteration. In some iteration, they're still around.
And another story about that, which, do you remember when we were online, you bought a tour shirt?
I did buy a tour shirt.
If you want to call it
that. And it was not even a tour shirt. It was the most parking lot ghetto rock shirt you could buy. I mean, it had like discoloration on it, and I remember it was like light blue.
Yeah, it was a light color.
It was like, I don't know how to this day I don't know how you make a t-shirt, but it was almost like the guy took like a page of Quiet Riot ad out of a magazine and somehow, silk screened it, ironed on it, the shirt. And I was like, a shirt. I needed to get a shirt at every concert. And took me a lot of decades to get out of that habit.
And the thing had stains on it. Something.
And as I started berating the guy who sold it to me and yelling at him, and I was like 13.
Yeah, he's like, "What are these stains?"
That's right. I was yelling at everybody online, "Don't buy a shirt from this guy." Meanwhile, I was 13. The guy probably could have knifed me. You don't know about these guys that sell these shirts,
He's still warm off the press.
Yeah, still warm from where he made it in his van.
Either that or from pulling it under his jacket.
Pulling it under his jacket, yeah. out of a hefty bag. But yeah, so with all these looks back into history, there's the history of the band that we've read in magazines and seen in documentaries, and then there's also our personal attachment to it, and that's our personal attachment to Quiet Riot.
Yes, and in our little band, we used to play Metal Health also.
What are those chords? Dun, dun, dun. Pretty.
I don't.
E F sharp G. I don't know.
It was like A C G, I think.
A C G
G C G A.
Am I allowed to hum it? We're gonna get like copyrighted because I just hummed the song. But yeah, we used to play Metal Health. Yeah, that was some of the early songs that we would learn. And Metal Health was definitely you get a cool album and then you try to play it. And, for the first couple albums, that was cool because we would do an AC/DC and you got anything coming and then Say What You Will and all that. And then you start buying, like Slayer and
yeah.
I was like, wait, how do they do that? How do you play that fast?
It was more challenging.
Yeah.
And it was still the solos. We did what we could, the guitar solos.
Yeah. So as Quiet Riot's Metal Health, a very important album that must be talked about when you're looking back at February 1983.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
So all of this Quiet Riot success led to a focus on, younger, I guess, harder, heavier bands, especially when an album goes to number one. Mm-hmm. That becomes the focus of the music scene.
Something comes out and then something kind of answers for it and changes it and whatever you want to call that.
Yeah, because we were talking earlier off the air. That sounds so professional. Off the air, we were talking about whether we should discuss another album that came out in February of '83, which was Styx. Kilroy was here.
I think it's worth speaking about because Styx had that huge album. Kilroy was here with their hit Mr. Roboto.
Yeah, I thought even that the album was called Mr. Roboto, but
that was a big song. I mean, people still quote it like Domo Arigato.
That's the only Japanese I know.
Mm-hmm.
Domo Arigato, and I think they had they had another song on there, Don't Let It End. That was a hit, but I think the reason we decided to talk about it is because this was a band like quite a few 70s bands that were on their way out in the early mid-'80s. This was the last Styx album. They broke up after the tour and didn't get back together until 96 or 97. So some bands, Kansas, Boston was kind of their own doing, but they're not around in 83, 84. And another band that was hitting a rough patch was Aerosmith.
Oh yeah, their tour was kind of a mess.
They came out with an album with 2 replacement guitar players. Joe Perry and Brad Whitford had left. And in February 1983, they're on tour with Jimmy Crespo and Rick Dufay, who were replacement guitar players. And they were continuing their Rockin' a Hard Place tour. And everything that I know about Aerosmith, reading the books and seeing clips online, this was not a good tour. Steven Tyler was passing out, was unable to show up sometimes, forgetting lyrics.
Yeah. I think it was their drug use was at an all-time high.
Yeah.
I believe I don't know if I have the dates correct or the time frame, but there was that documentary, The Kind of Western Civilization.
Yes.
Part 2, The Heavy Metal Years.
Heavy Metal Years.
They actually had Joe Perry and Steven Tyler, and they were speaking about those times where he said, I probably snorted all of Peru or something like that.
Right.
So that may have been the same period where they really declined.
Well, that probably what led to the Joe Perry not being there anymore. So he went out on his own. Aerosmith's, continued, did the Rockin' a Hard Place album. They're on tour in February. Joe Perry is on tour in February of '83 with his Joe Perry project, playing really small places. So Aerosmith, again, like some of those other 70s bands, were kind of on the way out a little bit for a few years at least, while the Quiet Riots of the world were having great success.
It's just the way music is. You have a great genre, and then they have their time, and then they kind of fade, and someone else fills in that vacuum. And this happens to be when hair metal started coming in.
Yeah.
People thought it was mint.
Mint. They thought that word was mint, too.
Yeah.
There was a band called Rock Goddess that came out with an album in February of 1983. They were a British all-girl band. Do you know anything about Rock Goddess?
I don't know, but I heard of them. They were a big name, I guess, from magazines and
Like
British magazines.
Kerrang and
Yeah, but it wasn't like nowadays where you could look them up. This was, you had to get a British magazine, which cost like double the price.
right.
Or go to a record store and take your chances buying this weird, obscure album.
Let's try to flip through the magazine and read as much as you can before the guy said, "Put that magazine down."
Yeah.
Are you going to buy that?
And not only taking your chance on an album, but on an import.
Yeah,
which was, again, double the price.
Double the price, but it's like, only released in Japan or the UK. But Rock Goddess, again, they were an all-girl band, and the band Girl School, which was much more well-known, had 3 albums, I think, at this point. So maybe Rock Goddess was just another record company trying to find that Girl School success.
Yeah, like the Coke Pepsi type of thing. There's always someone to, well, they have Girl School, we'll make Rock Goddess.
And it took a long time. Rock Goddess didn't last very long, but it took a long time for, women to really make a dent in like hard rock, heavy metal. We're still a couple of months away from Lita Ford's debut album. There was Lee Aaron from Canada.
That's another one too. I always saw pictures and articles about Lee Aaron, but I don't know any of her songs. I don't know if I've even heard a song. It's very strange.
Metal queen.
Yeah. And Lita Ford, of course, where, she came from another all-girl band, the Runaways. Mm-hmm. And they were in the 70s, but they were great. They were like more hard rock. I don't want to say punk, but they were heavy.
Yeah. Well, they had Joan Jett in it, so that gave them their
little baby Joan Jett.
their punk credentials, I guess. So really it was about tours at this time. And the Aerosmith, we mentioned their mess of a tour for Rockin' a Hard Place, but one tour that was going on in February of 1983, Van Halen toured South America for the first and only time in their history. When they went to South America, they went to Venezuela, Brazil, Uruguay, Argentina. They either played 14 or 16 shows down there, depending on where you look. But this was the end of the Diver Down tour. I say Diver Down tour because that was the album, but they called the tour the Hide Your Sheep tour.
Make of that what you will.
So that's a David Lee Roth joke, I guess, of some kind. But they were supposed to end that tour in December of '82 in Jacksonville, Florida. But they got a call from a South American promoter and decided to add these dates on. I guess the money was good. And they went down there, and I reread about it recently. I looked in a book called Running with the Devil, written by their former manager, Noel Monk. And he actually refers to it as the No Problems Tour because he said everything went really well. There are bootlegs on YouTube from this tour. And there's always been, Van Halen didn't have a lot of bootlegs. So they had the US Festival. They used to have a bootleg of a show on the same tour in Landover, Maryland. And then they had a couple from South America, and they're really good. There's one in Argentina, if you want to look it up on YouTube, February 12th, 1983, where they do a show in Argentina.
You mentioned that book, Noel Monk.
Yeah.
Was that Running with the Devil?
Yeah.
That was a great book.
Yes, it was great.
If anyone's into early Van Halen or even later Van Halen, I would recommend that book. It's a quick, easy read, and it's really packed with some good stuff.
Yeah, this is crazy stories from any rock book back then. And I said he referred to it as a no problems tour, but he talks about there being some shady people involved in some of the shows. Like one of the security at one of the shows may or may not have been some cartel, like Death Squad or something. So,
I kind of remember that.
Yeah, like all the guys looked the same. They wore the same leather jackets and skinny ties, and they were like, somebody asked him, like, how many men have you killed? And he laughed, thinking they were joking, and he thinks, I don't think they were joking.
Oh my God.
But
we're not plugging this book or, just so you buy it. But I love it.
We don't get any royalties from it.
No.
But really, Van Halen in their David Lee Roth era prime, they open up a Romeo's Delight. They go into Unchained. For some reason, Alex Van Halen always did a drum solo very early. That was
after
third.
The second show.
After the second song, right? After the second song, he goes into a drum solo. But you also hear in jams from that tour, you hear little bits and pieces of riffs that will become songs on 1984. I think he plays a bit of Girl Gone Bad.
I think so.
In his solo or in a jam with Alex at the end of a song. But anyway, so that's one of the fantastic live tours that were going on in February of '83.
I really wish I could have seen Van Halen back then. Not to go off on a tangent, but
Right.
it's one of the bands I really regret that I did not see.
Yeah, that who knew that and by '84 you'd never see those four guys together again. And I know they got back together later on with Wolf, but it was never Michael Anthony.
If you're not sure what I'm talking about, go on YouTube and look up some of their videos live, like Unchained, and it was just I don't know what the word would be.
Yeah,
Awesome,
just awesome. Yeah,
Huge.
it's another level. It's something that guys our age always, I think in our first episode I even said, finding bootlegs of Van Halen is like the holy grail of YouTube. There's a great one actually from Montreal. If you look up Montreal Forum, '83 Van Halen, you could see another great one. Well, they open up at Unchained actually, and the crowd is just insane.
And that's when he lit the gong on fire.
Yes, I've been wanting to light a gong on fire since I was 11 years old.
There's still time. We could look on eBay.
Okay.
All right. I'll let you know how it goes.
And since we're only an audio medium, we'll have to we're going to do it on the show. We're going to light the gong on fire.
Yeah,
here.
we'll swear it's real.
Well, they can probably hear the crackling of the fire.
That's true. That's metal.
And the smoke alarms go off. All right, so that is about the touring of February 1983, and there's also some classic albums being recorded in February of 1983. There is Compass Point in the Bahamas. That's a famous studio that a bunch of new wave bands recorded, but also Back in Black was recorded there. And Iron Maiden is down in Compass Point in the Bahamas in February of 1983 recording Peace of Mind. And Holy Diver is being recorded. Dio's debut is being recorded at Sound City, which was a studio in Los Angeles.
Little did anyone know what was being birthed at that time.
Yeah.
I mean, really, Peace of Mind and Holy Diver. No, I mean, we were sitting home. No one knew that this was going to change a lot too.
So,
amazing albums.
Yeah, we'll talk about those albums in more detail the months that they come out. But they're bubbling under right now. So while Van Halen's on tour and Aerosmith's falling apart, and Quiet Riot's having great success, there's
Crockpot of metal.
Crockpot of metal is brewing in the distance. Crockpot of metal.
Oh boy,
that was a good one. No, it's good. I don't know how much I should continue laughing, but that was good.
Right.
Crockpot of. If we could title the episode, we could title it "Crockpot of Metal."
Yeah, that's all right.
And to go even farther back, we're looking at albums that are being recorded. They're also just bands being formed or bands going through changes that we didn't even know really existed.
Yeah.
And in February of 1983, Metallica was looking for a bass player.
And yeah, they got one all right. They got the old Cliff Burton.
And as the story goes, Cliff Burton is from the Bay Area. Metallica at that time was based in Los Angeles, the suburbs of LA. And when their original bass player, Ron McGovney, left, they sought out bands, and they saw a band called Trauma at the Whiskey or some bar on the Sunset Strip. And they said, we want that bass player.
And they actually convinced him to move. They moved for him.
Yeah, he convinced them to move.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, it was.
So Metallica being as big as they are, almost every date is chronicled on their websites and in their history. And so in February of 1983, they moved up to El Cerrito, California, which is in the San Francisco Bay Area. I think it might be on the Oakland side.
Mm-hmm.
There's like
I think so.
I don't know the area. It's East Bay, West Bay area. I think they were
all about
east.
The Bay.
They were east of the Bay, and El Cerrito. And I mean, people actually visit that house. It's the house that they're sitting in inside Master of Puppets. Remember,
really?
We're all sitting on a couch, and there's a coffee table in front of them and all that stuff. That's them sitting in that house.
See, I don't know these things.
And they moved to that house in February of 1983.
What the?
It all just comes back.
And it's pretty significant. That's when Cliff joined them. I mean, he was a heavy hitter back then. I mean, the band was heavy. Of course, they had some cojones, as they say, but he was like an in-your-face bass player. He was this different type of bass player.
And also just think, like, you and I played instruments growing up and had different bands with different people, and people would leave, and the band would start over and rename itself. I'm trying to think of, so you and I were 18, 19 years old, and we saw a bass player that we really liked, and like we wanted him in the band, let's say, and that guy said to us, "Okay, but you have to move where I come from, 5 hours away."
I don't know if we would have done that.
So, I mean, think of how history would have changed if when Cliff said to them, you got to move to the Bay Area, if they were like, no, and just went some other direction,
Because I'd start to think, was there no one else as good as Cliff back then? Or was it like fate intervening? And
I don't know. He had a different look. He definitely played differently. And
he was aggressive as hell.
And, the Bay Area becomes such a hotbed of that thrash kind of scene. So I guess maybe getting out of LA away from the Motley Crues and the Rats was something that they wanted to do. And when they found out the Bay Area had the, Exodus and bands like that, maybe they thought maybe it was more than Cliff why they moved.
Maybe it was a whole recipe for the crockpot.
Yes, it all goes into the crockpot of metal.
Oh yeah,
oh yeah. So, as we're talking about all of this, we're hoping to build a little bit of an online back and forth with anyone who might be listening. So, we have a Gmail account that is, it's the 80s metal hang at gmail.com, and 80s is spelt number 8, number 0, and a small s. Yeah. So it's the 80s metal hang. And we also have an Instagram.
Yeah, it's the same, the 80s metal hang. So numeral 80.
Yes. So if you want to leave us a comment, correct a mistake we may have made, tell us what a great expression crockpot of metal is. Mm-hmm. Compliment Craig on coming up with that. Anything and everything. It would be great if we could have some feedback of people's memories. Sometimes we talk about concerts that we experienced, but there are also like huge concerts that like we weren't at. Whether we talk about the US Festival or Monsters of Rock Festival. It'd be great to hear from people who experienced those, who saw the shows in California that obviously we didn't see living on Long Island in New York.
We brought up the Stony Brook Gymnasium show. Yeah. There's probably dozens or maybe even hundreds of shows like that no one else has known about. So if you have any of your own personal stories, send them in. If they're really cool, we'll tell them on air. Because that's what we're all about. It's about a hang. And so,
yes, we'd love it to be part of the 80s metal hang, to hear about, your wacky venues. And everyone, it seems like every area had their own like metal DJ who had a show at midnight on Sunday. Mm-hmm. And everybody had, their own sort of personal heavy metal history in whatever area of the country you might be from.
Yeah, exactly. We want to make this kind of like a personal type of thing, like as if we were all hanging out in a room talking about metal, which is what we do every time we hang out.
Yeah. So Craig and I just decided, what if we just recorded this? Because, the two of us and some other friends, we get together every couple of months and have some whiskey, and
it always deteriorates into metal.
And, I remember one time my wife, one of them was at my house and my wife was inside, and she said, "What are you guys talking all passionately out there? Is somebody arguing?" And I said, they were arguing over what's better, Diary of a Madman and Blizzard of Us.
Oh my God.
like she was worried it was like politics or religion or something. And it was like, no, they're just arguing over whether Believer is better than Mr. Crowley and SATO is better than No Bone Movies.
Important stuff,
Really hard-hitting, important stuff.
Hard-hitting, that's right.
So that kind of hard-hitting discussion is why we started doing this.
We figure if we love it, if we're this passionate, there's got to be tons of people out there as well. Yeah. So, I mean, we hope we're hitting a chord, no pun intended.
What chord would that be?
Probably an
F
A.
Sharp, G, an A?
Probably an A.
It's always an A.
Too, A 440 back in the day. No down tuning. A.
And is it an A where you actually use 3 fingers on 3 separate strings, or you're just going to bar it?
It's same. You kind of just bar it. You hit the first 2. It's all you need.
There you go. This is spoken from a guy who knows 7 chords on the guitar and can never get his fingers to do the A with the 3 fingers. I always have to put my index finger just across to hold it.
No, I was talking the open A.
Oh, the open A.
That's a nice one. Yeah.
Okay.
So I always hit that, and I turned my amp on, waited for the tubes to heat up, and I heard. Oh God.
All right. So that was a good hang.
You got that right.
That's all right. So next episode, we'll move on to March of 1983 and fill you in with anything and everything that happened in heavy metal history on the 80s Metal Hang.
So we will see you then, and we will see you there. Have a good one, guys.